Hi guys, my name is Lucy. I'm from Málaga. I'm a criminology student, and as you can see, I've been delivered. In high school, I didn't want to do my homework, so I made this cake of this really jacked minion, like from the Despicable Me movie, and then I delivered it to the guys' dorm, because I went to boarding school, and they were like, why would you do this? But they all loved it, because we had like cake wars kind of going on. I just watched Wicked yesterday, and it was so cool. Like, the animals could talk, and like, there's just so much cool stuff. So I think I'd live there, even though there's a lot of racism in Oz, I've learned. But, you know, I think that we can work towards a better future together. Yeah. Probably be Kandinsky, because his art is so abstract and colorful. I think it's just, I would want to know what's going on in his mind. Like, how does he see his paintings in his head? How does he come up with this like abstract compositions and like all these color combinations, you know? Like, what in his life led him up to that moment? I don't know, it's pretty cool. I saw this Kandinsky work of art in Basel, Switzerland one time, and I have not been able to stop thinking about it ever since. So a few years ago, I really didn't want to go to college originally. Like, I was going to be a tattoo artist. But, you know, my dad kind of was like, no, Lucy, you have to go to college. So I was going to go to this really big school, and I ended up scrolling through a list of their majors, and criminology was one of them, and I was like, whoa, that seems like the only one here that I could consider doing for 4 years without getting bored. And so I chose that one like a few years ago, and ever since then I just kind of realized that I'm really obsessed with it. I think though I would not want to be in law enforcement. I want to be in like victim advocacy, or like a psychologist for either victims or criminals. Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of law enforcement heavy encouragement in my major, but I think just myself and who I am, I'm not really not really the type. Not just the police academy, how they like scream at you on the first day. My criminology professor, we have our 6 to 7 p.m. class, and he ends early like almost every time, because he's like, guys, I have to wake up at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning because he's an instructor at the police academy. It's crazy. It's like he's just doing side quests now, but you know. I don't know, it's really interesting. It's interesting that every society kind of focuses on different issues. Like, in Spain, it's really about, what's it called? Like, gender violence, and a lot of, I guess, anti-fascism and anti-nationalism. And then, and there's a lot of like anti-sex trafficking, because where I live specifically, there's a lot of, you know, like Russian mafia, like organized crime, stuff like that. And then in the US, it seems like a lot of law enforcement's focus seems to be on, like more like drugs, and there's a lot of like racism, like just maybe not even law enforcement is focusing on that, but like society as a whole, like that's what they think of when they think of law enforcement. And then in Germany, I mean, I lived in like a tiny town in Germany, but from my perspective, it seemed like a lot of it was more on just, I guess, A lot of, I guess, just a lot of rule enforcing, and I don't know, I guess, like, the only thing I can think of is when I would see, like, all the, like, gay flags everywhere in every city, because that's, like, a really big thing there. It's like, you don't have German flags, you have, like, a gay flag, which is, like, okay. But I think it's interesting to think about, like, no matter what society focuses on, like, it's all there. Like, just because I feel safer in Málaga because there's less gun crime, it doesn't mean that there's no gun crime, you know what I mean? And just because I feel safer in Fresno because I don't have to think about, like, human trafficking and, like, having an American passport as much, doesn't mean there's no human trafficking. But I think, like, at the end of the day, I know what I'm good at, and I feel like I'm a people person, and I'm there for people. And people need help everywhere. My biggest cultural adjustment from when I moved from Spain to Kansas, sexism. It was crazy. Like, in where I live, it's weird because it's almost a matriarchy. Like, when I'm walking down the street with a man, like, it doesn't matter if he's my boyfriend, my brother, my friend, like, store owners, they'll talk to me. Like, they don't talk to him, they talk to me. And it's to the point where, like, my brother, he doesn't like going out with me because he feels, like, so belittled, you know? And it's kind of funny. It's also, like, loud, like, outspoken women, like, that's, like, the thing, like, people like that. And it's like, if you're not, then it's like, are you not, like, a feminist, like, whatever? But in Kansas, I would say I'm a feminist, and they'd instantly think, like, oh, you hate all men. And it's like, I don't hate all men, I just want women to be able to, you know, have equal rights, yada yada, you know what I mean? And it was weird because I worked at a bar in Kansas, and the men, like, they'd be having serious conversations, and the second I'd get there, they just stop. Because it's like, oh, you can't think about these things because you're just a girl, you know, little farmer girl, even though I wasn't, but you know what I mean. And even my family, who knows me, like, they would be having serious conversations about, like, I don't know, politics and climate change and, like all that kind of stuff, and then I'd get there and then they instantly start talking to me about, like, baking or culture, I don't know, just things like that. And I think it helped me understand my parents a lot better, just because I think as someone who grew up in Spain and they grew up in Kansas, like, I've always kind of thought, like, oh, they think this way, like, yada yada. But it kind of makes more sense now. But also, it was, like, really hard because I never experienced that before. I'd always been treated like super equally. Yeah. So yeah, it's weird because for a while I didn't know I had scoliosis until I was like 12, but it really affected me. Like, all of my muscles are either too short or too long, like, throughout my whole body basically. And so, like, I'm just, like, extra weak, like, abnormally weak, like, I have really bad balance, I have a lot of chronic pain. And so in my PE classes, it was, like, really rough because everyone would be running the mile and I'd be, like, extra dying, like, and we'd prepared for that, right? But I just couldn't do it, and I'd always kind of get the like what's wrong with you kind of situation. And then as I've gotten older, like, it's been really hard because I used to be really embarrassed to go to the gym just because I was so much weaker than everybody else. And people would always just be like, why don't you go to the gym? Like, that'd solve everything. And it's like, oh, you don't understand. But I think as I've gotten older, like, I start to see is, like, when I don't work out every day, I'm in so much pain. Like, it's kind of crazy. And I haven't worked out for a while just because school and life stuff has been going on. But I think now I see working out more as, like, a personal thing. Like, I'm not working out to like, be stronger so that other people, like, accept me or whatever. I'm working out just to, like, take care of myself and, like, kind of selfishly, like, because you don't deserve to be in pain, you know what I mean? But it was really funny when I did work at a bar because literally I couldn't, like, hold, like, a few plates, like, above my head, and like all the kitchen staff would make fun of me. Like I'd literally be going out to take the trash out, and like they'd look at each other, and one would just like follow me out to the trash can because they're like, you can't do it. I was just talking about this yesterday, because I like stereotype people a lot, and it's really bad. Well, like not so much Americans, but more like Europeans. You know, like the Germans, I'll be like, oh, they're German. Like, yeah, of course they're gonna stare at you. Of course they're gonna be like kind of uptight, you know, or like, okay, this is kind of bad, but like there's a Serbian guy at school, right? But my best friends are Albanian, and like, I don't know, Albanians and Serbians kind of hate each other, so I've always just been kind of like, oh, you know, but I don't know him at all, so it like doesn't make any sense. Also, I've heard he's like really sweet, so it's like kind of stupid that I'm like, oh, he's Serbian, you know what I mean? Also, like, Spanish people, they supposedly hate French people, so, you know, I always just have these, like, I feel like I have to protect my sense of, not patriotism, but like my sense of self, in that I am from Málaga, just because I don't sound like I'm someone from there, and I don't look like I'm someone from there, so I feel like I have to protect my sense of like being from there, and I feel like that comes out in an unhealthy way where I'm like judging everybody else for who they are, but I think like I just keep getting proven wrong, and I think that's been really good for me to grow and stuff like that, especially when I was in Kansas. Like I always thought of people as like, or it's like, especially like in the US, you think of people who support, I mean in Spain, you think of people who support Trump or like who are Republicans, you're like, wow, they're like insane, like they're all like big and fat and like, I don't know, it's dumb. But it's kind of, it was really good for me to go there and like meet people and realize like, oh, there's like, people aren't dumb. There's like reasons behind why people think the way that they do, and I shouldn't judge somebody based off of like their politics. I shouldn't judge someone based off of where they're from. Also, I love internationals. Like there's internationals everywhere. Look for the internationals, because they're gonna be like the nicest, most understanding people. Like they're usually the funniest ones, because it's like, oh, you can't really communicate as well in that language, so like you're gonna have a sense of humor, because that's how you make friends and communicate. Also, it's the people I can relate to the best, so yeah. Painting and baking, yeah, those are two of my biggest hobbies. I'm sad that I haven't been able to bake while at school because I don't have a kitchen in my dorm. But I think it's just because when I was younger, right, like I wouldn't really leave my room because I was like weak and stuff like that. I think I just really started to do things that I could do like in the house. Like I could just do it on the floor. Not baking, I don't bake on the floor, guys, that's gross. But I think it's something a small goal that I can achieve, and I think it makes me feel not accomplished, but it's like I can be like, oh, there's so many other big things in my life that I can't achieve, but this one small thing, like I did that and I finished it. Also, it's just fun. Like I see the vision in my mind, and then I just like to make it come to reality. It's almost like I get the itch, you know, like it's like I have to like create something. I don't really paint that much anymore because I don't really have time for it, but you know, every night I'll be in my room, maybe like watching a TV show and like watercoloring or something like that, just because for my mental sanity. Humble yourself, because you're gonna get humbled. I think it's like, if you're moving to a new country, don't try and make everything like it was back home. Like you're gonna have to find new things, and you're gonna have to adjust to the new life, so don't, like, it's good to have things that remind you of home, but I think some really big things, like from what I've experienced in Spain or in Malaga, I live in such a tourist city. Like, everyone's there. I mean, it's even like the cities next to mine, so many British people, it's kind of crazy, but they all go there and they expect everyone to like kind of fold to their will. And I think it's a big issue. Like, people from my city, like, they even have like kind of a bad word for the Northern Europeans and the British people who come there, and they kind of think of them as like maybe kind of not dumb, but like why are they acting like they're still over there when you came here for this to be here, so why are you expecting us to assimilate to what you want over there? Yeah, I don't know. That's just one thought that I have, and I can't, like, I'm not saying that like tourists are bad or dumb, because I literally get called that word as well. It's just giddy. It's like, it doesn't really mean, it's not that intense, but like when I call myself a giddy, like all the Spanish people are like, whoa, like, no, you're not, like, don't say that about yourself. But I don't really care. I tell people I'm Spanish, but I have giddy blood. Yeah. And that's why I look the way that I do. But also, just like from things that I've like gone into new countries, it's just like, people are just people. And even though like there's different like cultural norms and stuff like that, just be kind and be interested in other people's stories and just open up. Like, I know it's really hard for people to, you know, because it's such a like stressful experience, but I think if you just put yourself out there, like, you're gonna find people. And I think the people who do the best in new cities are those who really want to form connections with people and are just willing to put themselves out there, even if they get rejected or, you know, humbled and stuff like that. One of them, I guess, is like, so both of these are for my AP Spanish class that I took my sophomore year of high school when I moved into an American high school. I don't know, it's kind of weird because, like, obviously I already knew Spanish and it was just like a couple of us in the class. So our teacher was like, she didn't really know what to do because we already knew Spanish. So we just kind of went into like the histories of different Latin American countries. So one thing that was super interesting is, I can't remember if this was, I think it was Argentina, not Venezuela, but yeah, I think it was Argentina. So there's this thing called the Dirty War, and in the Dirty War, so a lot of the people who were kind of against the political regime at the time, or regime, not regime, like the military would go in and they would take their like babies, and they'd give their babies to people who supported the political regime. And this was like in the 70s, right? So, and like they never let the kids know like that they were adopted or like who their parents were or anything like that. So there's whole like generations, like kid, like Gen Xers, like boomers, and like their grandkids, they're figuring out like, oh, like they never do this, but like they're not who their parents told them they were. And they're doing like DNA tests, and there's just all these groups that are kind of trying to connect people to who their family actually is because they were stolen from their homes. Another geopolitical fact, I don't know if this is necessarily political, just like an interesting fun fact that I know. It's also kind of strange. So basically there's this secluded people group in, I don't know if it's Dominica or the Dominican Republic. I think it's the Dominican Republic, where the boys and girls are like raised the same, and the boys are kind of like raised as girls, like they don't really know they're boys until they hit puberty at like 13 and like, you know, grow their manhood, you know what I mean? And it's just like, it like pops up when they're like 13. It's like strange. You can Google it.
Don't tell them like they stick out.
I don't know, maybe they do. Like obviously I feel like they don't have vaginas, I don't think. Or I don't know if they're I learned this a long time ago. I don't know if they're like intersex or if they just straight up don't like don't like grow their man parts until puberty, but that from what I remember, they just like turn like 13 or 14 and go through puberty, and it's like, oh, like that's gotta hurt though. So I was like talking about how I don't like to go to the gym, right? So the one time in high school, I like forced myself to go to my high school gym. It was because my best friend at the time, she was starting to get into this gym phase, and she didn't have anyone to go with, so she was kind of like begging me to go, like, Lucy, please come with me, because it was just like guys in the gym. Like, there's no girls there. It's this tiny room with probably like 30 dudes in there, like all grunting and screaming and like, I don't know, lifting heavy weights. And so I go with her because I'm a girl's girl, you know? And the only shoes because my scoliosis, I have to wear, because one of my legs is longer than the other one. This is a really long background story. So one of my shoes, my left shoe has to be like, be a little raised. And the only shoes that I had raised were these massive, like the chunkiest shoes that you've ever seen, right? So I'm like, okay, these are the only ones I can wear, so I don't like start like back spasming, you know what I mean? I get there and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna warm up on the treadmill. So I start walking, and then I'm like, oh, I'm kind of embarrassed that I'm going so slowly. And it's just a warm up, so I don't know why. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start running. So I turn the thing up, and I'm like with my massive shoes, right? And then my phone, it was on the like little ledge thing, it falls and it shoots across the room. And I'm like, oh, I should go get that. And instead of stopping the machine, I just stop and I face plant, and it shoots me back into I think the student body president, who's like, oh, like lifting weights, and he just like looks down at me, and I'm like, and then yeah, I started cussing the gym out in Spanish, and my friend came over and she was like laughing at me. And then like everybody just was like in silence, like watching me. And then I never went back after that. Thanks for watching, guys. My name is Lucy, and once again, I've been delivered.
Yeah, so
Just tell me when, and I can
Okay.
do it.
Yeah.
So I think I'm fine with that. I mean, I'm not fine with that, but
Okay.
yeah.
Just,
Next question. Yeah. That was a really long answer. Sorry about that. Insane. I'm not breathing enough. You know what I mean? I'm scared I'm gonna say something wrong and then I'm gonna embarrass myself. It's like, I'm sorry, guys. I'm just a girl. Please forgive me. Grow their manhood, you know what I mean? And it's just like, it like pops up when they're like 13,